Hi, I'm Ginger, and I wanted to share a message from the King James Version of the Holy Bible today. And I'm reading from Matthew, and it's about the end times. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be torn down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And I even ran into a man that said, I am Christ. It was when I was 27 years old, and I lived in Texas, and I knew he wasn't. For one, I knew that the Bible said that he will come back on the clouds of heaven, and we will meet him in the air. And this guy was on earth. Plus, he had like a tracheotomy, a hole right here. I think they're called a tracheotomy. That was like, healed, but you could tell he had been, I don't know if he was a smoker or what, but he had a hole right there. And so you have to be careful of false prophets. Say hi, Gabe. That's my son, Gabriel. Okay, so and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Keep your eye on China. I was watching a video last night about all the surveillance that they have over there, and plus, um, they are from this video. It was showing how they um, watch even in churches. They have cameras in churches, and if they don't like what is said, they have this numbering system. It's like a social numbering system, and if you get a poor number on your numbering system, then you're marked, and they have a list, and people are told not to associate with you. And so things are changing in the world, and China is really has really persecuted people, um, you know, of the Christian faith, and so, what if that happened here in America? Where it was like that in China. We know that there's a coming Antichrist eventually, and we cannot take the mark of the beast, which is the 666. It's in Revelation, and I will go over that. It's in Revelation chapter 13, I believe. Okay, so verse 5 of 24 of Matthew. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Of course, we know there are wars and rumors of wars going on that have been going on for a long time, but also are going on now, and even more so. In my opinion, the natural disasters have increased. We know that there's been earthquakes, for thousands of years, and other natural disasters, but to me, it looks like it has increased. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. So we see that, and we see it in an increased amount, and so we know that we're in the end times. I believe we're in the end times. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Okay, so the beginning of sorrows. I'm not saying that this is the time of the great tribulation yet. I'm just saying it is the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. I'm seeing that right now. My own mother, I shared a Bible verse with her, and she said, Don't ever call me again, and don't write to me. So, like, you are going to be hated by even sometimes, people that you love very much. I still love my mom. I pray blessings over her. I love her very much. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. I'm not going to become bitter. I'm not going to hate those who hate me. Or I'm not going to, treat them horrible, because we are to love God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourselves, love our kinfolk as ourselves, love everyone as ourselves. If they don't want to have me in their life. I can't force myself in their life, but I'm going to love. On my end, I'm going to love. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So you want to endure in these coming times. And when the great tribulation does come, you need to be so sold out for God. And even now, you need to be so sold out for God. Be 100% for God. Give your life completely to Him. And every day be seeking God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So first, the gospel must be preached to all the world. And that's what we need to do. Use YouTube or make tracts and give tracts out in your local town. You can even send tracts to Love Packages in Butler, Illinois, and they will send your tracts to Africa and India and different places, and they get it to English speaking people in those countries. And there are many ways that you can witness. You can go door to door and knock and tell people about God. You could, just ask God how you can witness or how He wants you to. He might have you do it in several ways. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. So this is talking about the Antichrist in verse 15, the abomination of desolation. He will stand in the temple that will be rebuilt, and he'll claim to be God. We know he is not God, but he will claim to be. And we need to never follow the Antichrist. He is evil. Never follow the Antichrist. The Antichrist will bring in a world system that is evil. He'll bring in the mark of the beast. I believe it's probably the microchip. They even are implanting a microchip into people's hands. It's like a precursor. It's like up there. They can open their car. They can pay for things with their. They can scan their hand and pay for things. It's got their information on there, their data on there. And some people are voluntarily taking that. Never take a microchip in your body. Right now, I believe it's going in the arm or in the left hand, but when it goes into the right hand or the forehead, we know that is what we are told not to do. And I wouldn't even take the precursor. Do not take a microchip into your body. Do not allow them to implant any microchip whatsoever in any part of your body. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. So those nursing mothers, it's going to be difficult for them in this time of tribulation here. They're trying to nurse their baby, and they're on the run. They're running and they're hiding out. But pray ye that your flight be not in winter, neither on the Sabbath day. So it's going to be hard in the winter if all this happened in the winter. And so we should pray that it doesn't happen in the winter, because if there's snow on the ground and you're cold and you're trying to get away from the Antichrist and the mark of the beast and that system, I just want you to know the coming times are not going to be peaches and cream, but God will protect you. Most likely, you will be protected if you seek Him with all your heart. Now, some of us will be beheaded. Of course, it says in Revelation, it talks about the beheading of the saints and the blood that was poured out from the innocent saints, from the people who loved God. So some of us will have our heads chopped off, but some of us will be kept safe. And it doesn't mean that they're evil because they got their heads chopped off. It's just that, some of us will make it and some of us won't. And it doesn't mean that we're any better or any more spiritual. It just is the facts. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So this great tribulation is a 7-year period. 3.5 years are the first. The first 3.5 years are not the most intense time of it, but it's still the great tribulation. And then at the halfway mark, it gets really, really awful and hard. And I mean, it's already going to be difficult, but it gets very difficult the last 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation. Um, and except those days be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So it seems to me that God is going to take his people, you know, and I'm so sorry. I'm getting over something. I apologize. So it says he's going to shorten those days. So we don't know the exact day or hour that Christ will come, but we need to be ready. He will come back on the clouds and we'll rise to meet him in the air. And except those days be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then, if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. So if somebody says, oh, come out into this desert place, there's Jesus is out there. No, we know he's coming on the clouds of heaven. I'm so sorry. um, Verse 24, for there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So you need to be praying for wisdom and discernment in these last days. You need to ask God to open your eyes of understanding, because there's a great deception coming. And if we are not tuned into God and hearing Jesus' voice and following him, then people could be swept away. And so you need to be very, very wise by staying in the Holy Bible, reading it, and also by praying and asking God for direction. And he will protect you. If you seek him with all your heart, he'll protect you from going astray, from going after false Christ. Verse 25, behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. So if somebody says, oh, come out to this desert place or wherever, to the secret chamber, Jesus is here. No, Jesus is coming back in the sky, and every eye shall see him. And it's not going to be like, we are going to hear Jesus. We are even though it's in the twinkling of an eye, it's not going to be a quiet thing. It says there is trumpet blasts and everything. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Have you ever seen lightning? It lights up, and you hear that thunder, the noise. It's going to be. It says, for as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Like lightning. Yes, and it will be a fast thing. It's not going to be a long, drawn-out thing. It will be like as fast as I can blink, For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven. That's verse 30, with power and great glory. So this is where I'm trying to show that Jesus Christ is coming back in the clouds of heaven. He is not going to walk up to your door and say, I'm Jesus. So if somebody claims to be Jesus, they're not if they're walking on this earth, because he's coming back in the clouds of heaven. And what did this verse say in verse 29? Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. So we know that we have to go through the tribulation. It's not popular to hear that. Most professing Christians think that we'll be just cut away before all the tribulation. But from my understanding of this, it says immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened. We just read all what the saints have to go through. Remember, we read that, we can't go back into the house and grab things out, when the abomination of desolation steps foot in the holy place and claims to be God. So we know when all that happens, we can't. And when we learned that when we we need to pray that we don't have to flee in the winter. And, we read all that. So we know that we have to go through this tribulation. At least it seems to me that we do, because 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. And then, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. In verse 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. So it said after the tribulation, and then verse 30, then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven. That's why I said earlier that all shall see. It says all the tribes of the earth shall mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven. So we will see him. We will all see him. Not everyone will be saved, only the remnant, only those who truly love Jesus with all their heart, mind, soul, and strength, and had faith in his blood. And what his blood did, he was holy. It says in Hebrews 1:8 that God the Father called Jesus God. And in John 1:1, in the beginning was a Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And in verse 14 of John 1, it says the Word became flesh. We know Jesus is the Word that became flesh and dwelt among us. And he was in the beginning with God. And in Revelation, he says, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Jesus says, I am the Alpha, which means beginning, and Omega, the ending. Okay, so verse 31, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. Remember, I was talking about how it will be a loud noise. It's not going to just be a small noise. It's a great sound of a trumpet. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. I'm not going to go into that parable right now, but I just wanted you to know that we are I believe we are in the beginning of sorrows, and that we're coming up we're not in the great tribulation yet. And of course, the Antichrist has not revealed himself yet, and the temple is not rebuilt yet. So, there are still things to happen, but we need to be watchful and prayerful, and we need to love God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love others. Love your enemies. Pray for your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. Even your own dad or your own mom might someday shun you and say, I don't want to hear those Bible verses. I don't believe that, or whatever. Then you need to still love them. Pray for them every day. You can't be hateful, like them. You need to love. And if they don't want you to write or call, then honor that. Don't call them and don't write to them because they don't want that, but you can still pray for them. And you don't even have to tell them that you're praying for them. You can just pray for them. So stay close to God, preach the gospel in these end times, because remember, he said that the gospel had to be preached in all the world before he comes back. Let's do our part. Check out World Missionary Press. They give free scripture booklets to you upon request, and you can reach them at wmpress.org, I believe it is. So check them out, World Missionary Press, and then you can pass out those tracts. They call them scripture booklets. You can request them in English, and you can get, I used to get like 300 of them a month or more. Sometimes I get 400 or 500. You can give an offering if you want, or you can request them for free. Well, that's just one idea. Have a blessed day, and thank you for listening. God bless you.